Hello, my name is Paul Howell, and let's get started with, as the menu, I want to be the first thing the player sees so I can properly redirect them. I opened up the game, and here's the menu. Completion criteria. Once the game is opened, the main menu is the first screen the player sees. I opened up the game, and here's the screen. Main menu will have multiple buttons: New Game, Load Game, Options, Credits, Quit Game. Multiple buttons: New Game, Load Game, Options, Credits, Quit. Upon pressing Quit Game, the game will close. Quit. The game is closed. So, next, as the player, I want to be able to press a button on the main menu to see the developers and references for the game. On the main menu, Credits, here it is. Completion criteria. Pressable button on the main menu shows credits. Pressable button on the main menu shows credits. Credits include names of developers and references used. Here's the name of the developers, and the reference is Unreal Engine 4.26.2. Next, we have, as the player, I want to pause the game to take a break. So I go into the game, here it is, and I pause the game. Completion criteria. Upon button press, all NPC and attacks are halted. So let's go find an NPC real quick. There you go. He's halted. A menu will pop up. Here's the menu. The resume button will unpause the game. Resume unpauses the game. The save button will open the save menu. Save button, here's the save menu. Load game will open load menu. Load game, here's the load menu. See at the top it says load game. Quit game will exit the game. Quit to menu, here's the main menu. Next, we have, as the player, I want to respawn at the last save if I die so I can try again. So, let's take some damage. Hit retry level, and there you go, I am restarted. Completion criteria. Upon player health reaching 0, the player will enter a dead state. There you go, dead state. The game over screen will display, optional. And here you go, here's the game over screen. Player can either try again or quit. Retry level, load game, quit. Upon pressing try again, the game will restart the level. Retry level, it's reset. Upon pressing load, the load menu will pop up. Load game, load menu. There's that. Next, we have, as a player, I want to switch my weapon ability to use it in certain situations. So we have the gun, we have blink. We have gun, we have blink. Completion criteria allows me to switch between tools added into the game. Let's see, we have blink, we have gun, we have blink, we have gun. Has UI elements that pop up when swapping. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, the UI element pops up. Can display any items or tools and will not display items or tools not in the inventory. Only one item pops up, and that's the item that you are currently equipped, so nothing else that you do not have pops up. Next, As the player, I want to collect health items like food to instantly heal part of my health. So over here we have some, let's take some damage. There's some cheese wheels for food. My health regenerates a bit. Completion criteria. When picked up, it gives you some health. I have some missing health, so let me eat one, and my health regenerates a little bit. Plays a munch sound when collected. My recording software doesn't do so well, but if you can hear, it does play a munch sound. Next, we have, as a player, I want to have a healing item to be able to heal when needed. These here are healing items. Completion criteria. Healing item pool can have a max of 10 in total. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I can't pick up any more. When used, it gives you some health. So let's take some damage, and let's use one up. And now that we used one up, let's pick up another. There you go. And take some damage, and heal again. Take that last one. Oh, my bad. Next, as a player, I want to have a mana healing item to be able to get mana back when needed. That's these. These are mana items. Completion criteria. Mana healing pool can have a max of 10 in total. I picked up 2, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and no more. When used, it gives you some mana. So let's use up some mana real quick. There's mana used up, use it up, and it refills my mana. And now I can pick up another. Let's use up more. Eat it again, and pick that last one up. And finally, there's the options menu. So when I pause, I can go to the options, and how we have the game set up. Most of these options you can't really see, so I'm going to show you the ones that you can see. You can notice the volume, but like I said before, the sound on my recording software doesn't work so well. But what you can tell is shadows. So as you can see, these bullets have shadows, very clear, obvious shadows. If I go here and I hit shadow quality on low, and I click apply, the shadows are actually off entirely. And if I options high, hit apply, the shadows are back. However, if I hit shadows off and hit cancel, then it does nothing. It does not set the shadows off. That is me. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Trevor Babcock, and I am going over the work that I have completed in the first sprint. And without further ado, we'll look at crouching. So, as the player, I want to crouch so I can move more carefully around my environment and stay hidden from enemies. So real quick, let's go into the project, and we want to crouch here. And there's no enemies this way, but we do crouch, and we are able to hide from enemies from a certain distance. So let's look more at the completion criteria here. On player input, the avatar crouches. Let's make sure that checks out. So clicking the C key on the keyboard has the player here crouch, and we get some feedback with the camera, and in the bottom left we can see a little image. While crouching, movement speed's decreased. So we have a little example right here. So walking 600 Unreal units equals a second, while crouching at 450 Unreal units is a second. So this is a 75% speed reduction while crouched. But let's time it here. So it's about 1 second. And we line ourselves up for the same spot here. Crouch. Go. It's about 1 second. So 75% speed reduction there, and while crouching, player's harder to spot from the enemy. So we have something set up here. We have standing enemy sight range. This one right here in front of us is 2,000 unreal units. While crouched, they see us after 1,000 unreal units. So we're going to test this out. We're going to stand and walk into his range.
There you are.
And yep, he's seen us. So let's quickly reset him. And now going back and entering crouch, we move to that 2,000 range where he spotted us before and nothing happens. We move a little closer and nothing will happen until we get to this block here. So 1,000 units, yep, he spots us, starts shooting. All right, so jumping from crouch up here, we're gonna move down to the very bottom here as for objective, because as you'll see, it's right in front of us. So as the player, I want to see an indicator that points me to my next objective. So let's make sure that's real quick. So this objective here is this arrow, and we see a name and then some distance. So we see that, and takes us to our next objective, which is this little text here. And completion criteria of this is a white arrow points to the current objective. So we saw that. So there's a white arrow pointing to it. And arrow can be seen through any and all obstacles. So we'll have to run over here and move behind one of these squares. And as we do that, we'll move fully obscured, but we can still see that arrow. So that's proven. And then when hovered over the arrow, the name of the objective and distance to it is displayed. So if we look off to the side over here, we'll see in the left where the arrow is, there's no text and no distance. But then when we move back, it appears. So we're hovering over it. And as long as it's in the center of our screen, we'll see that text for the objective name, and we'll see that distance, so how far the player is from that objective. So now we're going to look at the base enemy. So going back up to the top here, and as an enemy, I want to have health and be able to get knocked out so that I can die or be neutralized. So this is a longer one here, but checking for health and if they can die or be neutralized. So we're gonna run over to our enemies, test them out.
What was that?
And
What
we're gonna strike him.
What was that?
And you can see that in this case he's dead. And currently in this build, the player is not able to knock out an enemy, but the feature for an enemy being knocked out is completed. So I have thrown in a little test scenario where this enemy, the farthest on our right, is knocked out after a certain amount of time. So we get to see that functionality. So Bob's here unconscious, and we can see that text display that he's unconscious. So that shows that they can die or be knocked out here. So let's go over the completion criteria in depth. Has a body the player can observe. So we saw that all of them have these mannequins here. Has a set amount of health. So we hit this guy in 3 hits and he went down. So let's make sure that these other 2 also go down in the same amount of hits. So
what was that?
1,
what was that?
2,
what was
3.
That?
So he went down.
What was
1,
what was
2,
that? What was
3.
That?
So we can safely presume that it takes 3 hits to kill an enemy, and they have 3 health because of that. Will die if health is at most 0. So we kind of proved that with that last point. Can be knocked out. So we saw that earlier. This guy can be knocked out and he's unconscious, and while knocked out, input is disabled and is a ragdoll. So we also see all these guys, whether knocked out or not, they are ragdolled and they don't have any input. They don't see me. They don't respond to the player at all, and they don't move. Upon ragdoll, the enemy will get knocked back in the direction attacked. So we saw this too when we killed these enemies. They kind of flung away from us, and this enemy actually flew off the edge. So that gets proven as well. Moving on, we're going to look at some stealth gameplay with an enemy. So as an enemy, I want to pose an obstacle to the player to enhance stealth gameplay. So if we're trying to get past this guy over here, he kind of poses obstacles because he's got the ability to spot us and deal damage, so we can kind of walk around and kind of hide from him, but we're going to have to navigate the environment around him so we don't get caught, injured. We're already at low health, and he will spot us and start injuring us, so that's not ideal. So let's run away here, move on to the
Where did you go?
completion criteria. So patrols in a predictable way. So let's look at this guy here. He's moved to this point. We saw him at this point earlier, and he's moving back there now. So after a few patrols, we can kind of predict that he's got a set path. So that's good. Can spot the player within a certain range. So we saw that earlier with the crouched and standing.
What was that?
But
There
just to
you are.
confirm, he spotted us while
Where did you go?
we were coming over here, and can't spot us right now because we're behind him, but he can spot within a certain range. The player makes noises that can be heard. So easy example is when the player is attacking, we make a noise that the enemy can hear, so we'll try to...
What was that?
He says, what was that? And so he would know that he's investigating. He heard that noise, and
What was that? There you are. Where did you go?
Spotted us.
Where did you go?
so he's responding to those noises, and he's moving to that location.
Huh. There you are. Must have been the wind.
Next completion criteria is investigate noise heard within a range, walk to investigate, and wait before returning to patrol. So we've kind of already seen this. So to test our completion criteria, we're gonna make a noise and try to make
There
sure
you are.
that...
Where did you go? What was that? What was that?
So he's moving around to us, and he's looking there. He's looking at where he last heard us.
Huh. Must have been the wind.
He said must have been the wind, so he lost track of us, and he investigated that point, and he looks like he's moving to his patrol, but let's make sure he goes and does his full patrol path. He's walking over to the next area, and yep, so it looks like that is good. Cannot spot the player if they are sneaking behind them and outside of combat. Okay, so to prove this completion criteria, we've got the enemy walking a patrol, and we're sneaking right behind him, and he's not spotting us, and we're not in combat, so that one is also tested. So final story that we're going to look at is, as an enemy, I want to attack the player to provide combat. So this one we've seen throughout the demo, but let's double check it. So we're going to move to attack this guy, and he's shooting at us, and he's meleeing us. So
What was that?
there's some combat capabilities there, so that's proven. Let's look at the completion criteria. We'll shoot if at long distance. So we'll run over to this guy, and
What was that?
we're at a long distance here, so he'll shoot at us and try to hit at us, and when he shoots, he'll do some damage.
Where did you go?
And then next criteria, we'll use sword if at close distance. So let's get in a close combat encounter here.
There you are.
So you see he's starting to melee, he's doing damage when he hits us, and he's chasing after us a little faster. Alright, so we'll chase player until dead or player loses them. Let's test that out. So we want this guy to chase us
There you are.
until we die, or they die. So he's attacking us here. Try to get him to shoot us.
What was that?
Alright, so that's proven. Let's do the lost sight aspect of that. Now the lost sight aspect is based on distance, or whether they can actually are obscured by us. Let's move over here though. Let's try to lose distance by running away.
Where did you go?
And so yep, he stopped chasing us now because we're far enough away. We got out of his range by sprinting. So our final completion criteria here is we'll leave combat if the player's out of line of sight for long enough. So this one, unlike the first one, is directly about line of sight and combat. So try to get a line of sight with this guy here. Alright, so he's shooting at us.
Where did you go?
And we'll try to move this way. So he's right there, And
Huh. Must have been the wind.
there we go. He lost sight of us. So we're good. So combat is now uninitiated. And with that, that has been all of my completion criteria for all of my stories proven for the first sprint. So thank you very much for watching.
Hi, this is Liam Crowley with the Milestone 1 Sprint Review. These are my tasks, and I'll be going over them to ensure completion criteria has been met. So to start off with that, as a player, I want to exist within the world to be able to have a vessel to play the game. Completion criteria have a base avatar for the player character. As you can see, I exist within the world. There's a base character. Pretty simple completion criteria. We just wanted to make sure it could be accurately and correctly implemented from the first-person template. So the next one, as a camera, I want to remain within the player to show a clear view of gameplay. As you can see, it was following me around. It remains locked in the player, follows the player accurately during abilities, which we'll show in a second, and can be locked or semi-locked during animations or cutscenes. So here's our one ability that's implemented. Travels with you through it, and then follows during animations or cutscenes. Currently, our only animation like that is this, which tilts you, but as you can see, it does correctly tilt with the player. And so that one is also complete. It was tied in with this one, so it has no time logged, but it is complete. So the next one, as a player, I want to see an indicator above enemy's head so I know who's about to detect me. And we'll cover those once we actually see it. So let's hop right over to this guy. He detects me, turns to red. He lost me, so it's a white arrow. It's a little hard to see behind the sky. Let's see if we can jump. Oh, so his red indicator fades off. So actually, there we go. Now you can see the white just barely in there. Oh, that's, well, okay.
There you are.
And then it comes back when he detects me and disappears after a second.
Where did you go?
So I'm going to stop trying to mess around with that. Let's see if we can... There you go. You can see it kind of peeking out there. There we go. That's a better view. Okay, sorry about that. White area will appear above the enemy's head. We chose to go with a lightning bolt because that's closer to the game. When the enemy fully detects you, the indicator will turn red and then fade off while the sound plays. The sound is the voice line, so there's no like ding or anything, but fulfills that completion criteria. So next up, as an object, I want to be collected so the player may use me. And then outline when the player's cursor hovers over it, lerp to the player when collected, be collected by player input, and play a sound relating to the specific item being collected. So let's hop over to our item test zone. As you can see, all these coins, they light up white when you're looking at them. Pretty simple there, and then these also outline these ones correctly. Different shapes outline differently. But then when I click it, as you can tell, it goes to the player, plays a sound, and I'm pressing F to do that each time. That's player input, and same with these. And so, as you can see, different sounds for each one, player input, they all travel to the player, then get deleted from the world, and they outline when they go over it. Next up, I want money to be able to buy ammo and upgrades. When picked up, it gives you money, and plays a coin sound when collected. So, if you go over here, it's adding money. 13, 17, 21. There we go. It's correctly adding money to the inventory, and so this one is complete. And then the last one that I was able to complete this sprint is, as the player, I want to collect ammo and resources for later use. When picked up, gives you ammo or resources, plays a sound related to the item picked up. Cannot collect if a specific ammo or resources at max capacity. So for this one, it's set at 10, but as you can see, click it, it plays a bullet falling sound, and it won't let me pick up anymore. As you can see in the inventory, we have 10 bullets. As you can see, there's an override issue, so we only have one slot functioning array issue, so we'll fix that. But it does demonstrate that these are working, and if I have this gun, and you can see it in the top corner over yonder, but it's correctly shooting, and now I only have 5, and I can pick back up to 10. There we go. So yeah, cannot collect if it's at max capacity, plays a sound related to it being picked up, and when it's picked up, it gives you more resources. That's all for me. Thank you for watching.
Hello everybody, My name is James Klingon, and I am in the DisIsHonored team. So I'm going to show you my first story. First story is DIH-49. As the player, I want to be able to move and look around to traverse through the level. So I can move and look around. The issues are, or the completion criteria is, the player can move left or right with A and D. So if I press A, move left, D to move right. The player can move forward and backwards with W and S. Move forward with W, backwards with S. The player can look around, up, and down by moving the mouse. With the mouse, I can look around, up, and down. The next issue is DIH-51. As the player, I want to be able to sprint to traverse the level faster. So this is normal walking speed, and this is sprinting. Sprinting increases player's movement speed. The completion criteria is the player is able to sprint, which is faster than basic movement with the shift key. So with the shift key, when I press it, I sprint, which allows me to move faster. And the next completion criteria is the player can sprint indefinitely. So if I press sprint, I can sprint indefinitely as long as I want, and there is no stamina or anything limiting the player to how much they can sprint. Next up is DIH-52. As the player, I want to be able to jump to traverse in higher parts of the level. So I can jump to traverse higher parts of the level. The completion criteria is the player is able to jump from the ground by player input, which is the space key. So when I'm on the ground, when I press the space key, I jump. If I press the space key again in air, nothing will happen. I will not jump again. It only happens when I'm on the ground. The next completion criteria is the jump is at a certain height. So the jump is at a certain height, lets you climb reasonably high objects. The next story is DIH-54. As the player, I want to be able to climb to be able to traverse parts of the level that jump can't reach. So over here, I can't get up here because jump can't reach up here. But with climbing, it allows me to climb up here and traverse parts of the level that I can't reach with normal jumping. The completion criteria for this is the player is able to climb ledges by jumping into them. So when I jump into the ledge, I climb up it. The next completion criteria is that can be reached by using the jump or with abilities. So the ledges can be reached with jump or with abilities. And the next story is, as the player, I want to kill an enemy from stealth so I will remain undetected. This is DIH-59. So, as the player, I want to kill enemies from stealth so I may remain undetected. I can kill an enemy from stealth and he does not detect me. The completion criteria: upon player input, the avatar will play an animation with a stab an NPC in the neck. Right now, a placeholder animation plays, and does not currently have an animation where the player stabs an NPC in the neck. We're using just a basic sword swing, as you can see right here. The next completion criteria: the player must be close enough to touch the NPC. So, you have to be pretty close to the enemy, close enough to touch them, to stealth kill them. If you're farther back, it won't work. You have to be really close. The next completion criteria: the player must not be detected. So when I kill this enemy from stealth, I will not be detected. Next completion criteria: nearby enemies won't detect you unless they see the assassination. So if I kill this enemy right here with a stealth kill, he will not detect me because he did not see the assassination. The next completion criteria is insta-kill, which means you must kill the enemy in one hit. So this thing right here kills him in one hit. For comparison, I will go to this enemy over here and show how many hits it takes to kill an enemy normally.
Well, there you are.
So it normally takes 3 hits. A stealth kill does it in 1 hit. And this concludes my Milestone 1 review. Thank you for watching.
Hello, my name is Demetrius Reed, and today I'll talk about what I completed for the Sprint Milestone 1. As the player, I want to be able to cover short gaps that I wouldn't normally be able to make. And its completion criteria is to have the player quickly move forward at around 1,300 Unreal units. It can cover gaps. The player is able to grab a ledge right after teleporting upon its use, so mana is used. Also have a animation for teleporting, have particle effects to help you see where you be teleporting to, and have sounds for teleporting. As a widget, I want to appear to indicate to the player how much health that they have, so they were trying not to die. And its completion criteria is to show the player how much health they have, and it should update every time you take damage or use a healing item.
What was that? There you are.
As a widget, I want to appear to indicate to the player how much mana that they have. And its completion criteria is to show how much mana the player has, and it should update every time you use the ability or use a mana healing item. As a widget, I want to show the player what ammo or ability they have equipped to make sure they have the right equipment equipped. And its completion criteria is to show an icon of the said ammo or ability that the player has equipped at the moment, and also updates when the player changes items. As a widget, I want to show the player that they are in stealth mode to know if enemies can hear your steps. And its completion criteria is upon entering stealth, the player icon appears, and upon leaving stealth, the stealth icon disappears. As an avatar, I want to have the health to be able to die. Its completion criteria is to have a health pool from 0 to a max number, and it can't go below 0, and if health reaches 0, the player dies.
What was that? There you are.
As an avatar, I want to use a sword to defeat my opponents from close range. And its completion criteria is to have an animation for each part of the combo, where the avatar swings the sword, have the target receive damage if hit by a sword when swung. You can do a combo of 3 hits, and have a sound for when the sword was swung, and when you hit a target.
What was that? 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 What was that?
As an avatar, I want to block so I won't receive damage in melee combat. Its completion criteria is that the player can block, the player blocks on input. If the player blocks an incoming attack successfully, the player will receive no damage. And it will also have a sound for starting the block and for a successful block. And it will also have an animation for starting and ending the block, and also having a successful block.
There you go.
As an avatar, I want to shoot my gun to hit a target at long range. And its completion criteria is when the avatar shoots the gun, the target being aimed at will receive damage. When the player shoots the gun, 1 bullet is removed from your inventory. Also, when the player shoots the gun, nearby enemies will be able to detect the player immediately. And also, shooting the gun it should make a shooting sound. And the gun cannot shoot if you don't have ammo. And it should also have a sound for when you have no ammo. And there should also be an animation for shooting it. And if it hits like an object, it will spawn a bullet hole on it.
What was that? What was that?
You go.
What was that? What was that?
As an avatar, I want to have mana so I can use my abilities. And its completion criteria is to have a mana pool from 0 to a max number. I can't go below 0 mana. When ability is used, some mana is also used. And after ability is used, if no other ability is used for a brief period of time, 20% of total mana is regenerated. And also, when mana reaches 0, a small amount of mana is generated after a little bit. And it should also have a sound for if you try to use ability without mana, and also an animation for the same thing. And that's it. Thank you for watching.